Going on, Ucha Ucha Lepa Haoop. What's going on, y'all? What's happening with y'all, man? Oh, let me. Ucha Ucha Lepa Haoop. What's going on with everybody? Today is going to be, I read this book a while ago. It's called The Gods of Eden. I read it twice already, but it was like a while ago I read it. And I was just skimming back through it, you know what I'm saying? And one of the issues that it came up with that I thought was very, very beneficial is that he kind of went into, in his own way, explaining the difference between the Great Spirit and God, or custodial religion, and work or connecting to the Great Spirit, or being universal in your thought. And before I begin, Uchala Pa Ha'u, Anea Safar Duba Shilpa Jamasi Takwama Tamahawk, Karuman Al Tamahawk Damam. I'm traveling bear of the Yamasee Nation of the Great Honorable Tamahawk bloodline. I'm the associate chief of the Yamasee Nation, also the media chief. Our standing chief is Chief Rock Eagle. That's our standing chief. But Ucha to everybody. What's going on, everybody? What's happening? But anyway, this author, William Bramley, William Bramley, you know what I'm saying? He was able to break down the difference between custodial religion in his own way, you know what I'm saying, and the Great Spirit, because we got to start explaining the difference between, when we say Great Spirit, we're not talking about God. We're not talking about Allah. We're not talking about Jehovah. We're not talking about Yahweh. We're not talking about any of them, you know what I'm saying? We're talking about the Great Spirit, this divine source that is life itself. We're talking about connecting to that. We're talking about being that. And one of the main differences that I've seen in my own research, the difference between our spiritual system and the spiritual system of the Abrahamic faiths or something like that, is that, or the institutionalized religions, is that you're made the focal point in our spirituality. No angel was made the focal point, or prophet, or God, or deity. Even though the Great Spirit exists. Oh yeah, you already know what it is. Oh, nice shirt, nice. Yeah, listen, Uncle Shiz, he actually, my lady did the design. She did this design, the Urban Indian design, and he put it on a T-shirt. He did the shirts, man. He just brought, he brought it to life, man. You know what I'm saying? It was in my head. And when you want something to manifest, give it to a woman that loves you. So I told my lady about it, the love of my life about it, and she brought it to life. We gave it over to Untrusted Uncle with our vision, and this what popped out. This is one of the designs. So, you know what I mean? If you DM me, you want one of the shirts, you can DM me. For the whole summer, the shirts are going 40 and 45, depending on the design, depending on the shirt. But you can DM me about that. But yeah, I got Unc yesterday, man. And that banging behind food, you know what I'm saying? That vegan food was nice. But yeah, so we gotta start getting to the difference between the Great Spirit and custodial religion. Custodial religions are basically control mechanisms. They basically box you into a thought pattern. They basically box you into actions. They box you into a concept and a construct, and it gives you that to order your life. And why is that? Who created a custodial mindset of, because inside those religions, you're not the focal point. This deity is, or these angels are, or these prophets are. It's always something other than you. That's the focal point. And then they tell you, oh, well, you have to focus in on these particular things so for you to get better. But in our old spiritual system, everything was focused on you. You had total free will. It wasn't like you have somewhat free will. No, it wasn't like that. And it's more so like your choices are not decreed. Okay, you have free will to choose whatever you want to do. Now, once you choose something through my research, and this is just my opinion, once you choose something, now that the things that happen to you because of that choice, it's possible that's already scrolled out for you. That's possible because the universe works on reaction and action. Okay, the universe works on energy. So you may choose something and all these things happen behind that choice. It just rolls out and plays out that way. You understand what I'm saying? So that's possible that those things are already written out. But your choices, what you think, are not planned out. You have total free will to choose your life. You have total free will to think what you want. You have total free will to do what you. Ucha, 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 habibiti. Aguni, ucha, ucha. That's my lady right there. She the one that did the designs for these shirts. You know what I mean? And one thing about women, man, is that they already life givers. So if you got an idea, and you got a woman that love you, give her the idea. Just like she gives birth to children, she's going to give birth to your idea. Because that's what women do. That's what the matriarch does. True matriarchy, not feminism. All right. So anyway, this is the book, The Gods of Eating by William Bramley. If you can get it, they probably got it in, they probably have this book on Amazon, or they probably have it in book Barnes and Nobles. It's possible, but try to get it. But anyway, one of the things he says, custodial religion. All right. He said custodial religion, meaning the religions that our people are practicing now, whether it's the church, the mosque, the synagogue, all these other things, right? The source or inspiration of teachings is said to be a God, angel, or supernatural force, not a human being. So he's saying that a custodial religion always brings you back to something other than you, other than the source. And it blames you for things that it decreed for you. Okay? Our spiritual system is a lot more logical. The only way to be blamed for something, okay, the only way to be blamed for something is if you totally have the choice to make it. That nothing decreed it for you. Nothing wrote it down that you were going to do it. That you yourself made that decision, 100% you. And then whatever comes from that, that's your responsibility to deal with because you made the decision without any force. Yes, it redirects your soul from connect to the grace. But ucha. Alpha, what's up, man? So, yeah, so if it does that to you, you understand what I'm saying? So it disconnects you, like he said. It redirects your soul connected to the Great Spirit. So what happens is that your soul is split into all these different parts. Now you got to follow Jesus. You got to follow Muhammad. You got to follow Moses. You're never making your own thought. You're never making your own decisions. And what they teach you is that everything is going back to some God. That's custodial religion. That a custodial religion is teaching you that you really don't make your own decisions. It tells you that you have slight free will. But if something is writing down for you to do something, something is decreeing it. Something is controlling it every second, every moment. Because if you're saying that God doesn't control every second, every moment, and he doesn't control every thought, every sound, every speech, then he's not all powerful. Then he's not. So inside custodial religions, control religions, that you have to put the God in that role, because if not, then that means it goes into our old spiritual system, which means you were the focal point, that you made your own choices and decisions, whatever came from that. You understand what I'm saying? So now, like I said in the beginning, it makes a lot more sense for me to have 100% free will, and that my choices are not written down or my choices are not dictated somewhere in the clouds. Now, my opinion from what I'm researching is that it's possible, and it's just my opinion, it's possible that the things that happen from your choices may have already been planned out, because your choices create things. And then whatever it creates, it has a system to it. And that system goes into play as soon as you make that decision. That life or that script goes into play as soon as you make that decision. But ultimately, you made the decision. Nothing wrote the decision down. There's no scrolls anywhere. And there's no force. Ultimately, you make the decision. There's no God sitting up in the clouds saying, oh, if he's going to do this, I wrote his whole life out. No. Then in that case, you don't have free will. It's an illusion. Then that means that God is tricking you into believing you have free will, and you really don't, because ultimately he's making all the choices and decisions. Then this God is a liar and he's a trickster. All right. Now, non-custodial religions, which he calls maverick here, but non-custodial religion or non-custodial belief systems. The source or inspiration of teaching is said to be the human being, meaning that you're the source of your problem and your solution. That's old time spiritualism. Old time is that you're the one that's testing yourself. You're the one that's making the decisions. You create your own life by your imagination and your thoughts. Nothing else. Nothing else is the blame. Nothing else is anything like that. It's you. So whatever happened on this planet is because we allowed it to by our very thoughts and actions. It's nothing decreeing it for you. Okay? All right. Now, and also another thing he's going to bring up, he says custodial religion. Belief in a single supreme being or God is a principal cornerstone of faith. In earlier times, worship of many human-like gods. So he's saying that in custodial religions, there's this thing that is this one patriarchal male God that dictates and rules your life. He punishes you. He destroys you. He drowns you. Exactly. He said non-custodial, what mainstream calls pagan, but we know the truth exactly. They paint our ancient stuff as paganism. They paint it as that. But we believed in the Great Spirit. We believe in the divine source. We believe in one unity. So where's the so-called paganism according to their concept of paganism? No, anything that's against their custodial religions is paganism. If it's not Islam, it's paganism. Not Judaism, it's paganism. Not the church, it's paganism. So anything that's in opposition to the Bible or the Quran or anything like that, then they put it underneath this term paganism, even though those religions and those concepts are very young on the planet. OK, very, very young on the planet. We're talking 2,000 to 3,000 years. All right. At the most. All right. At the most. All right. This is Irie. Everything Irie juice. Man, I met this brother yesterday from Baltimore, and he juices natural juices. This is like beet juice. I think it's ginger in here. I can't see those, but it's ginger, beets, and everything. Man, listen. All right. So they basically, that's why they call it pagan, because they have no connection. All right. So anything they can make money off is pagan, and they try and make a bag off our people. These folk tripping. Exactly. That's all this is about, right? He says belief in it. And now Maverick or non-custodial, he says belief in a supreme being is usually tolerated, but is a minor or non-existent part of doctrine. Emphasis placed on the role of the individual spiritual being in relation to the universe. Now he's saying that non-custodial religion, that there is no particular deity that's the focal point. All right. Because in our spiritual system, the Great Spirit doesn't command prayer. It doesn't command submission. It doesn't command repentance. It doesn't command guilt. It doesn't command shame. All it does is command elevation, correcting you. You are the focal point. And it leaves everything down here for you to reach that focal point. That's all it does. That's it. And there's no sex. There's no male or female version of gods. There's the Great Spirit. It's beyond he, like they say in a religion, God he, or huwa in Arabic. It's way above that, beyond that. But they had to make deities and introduce it into patriarchy. This is how they can control it, because they had to make spiritual systems patriarchy. When in the beginning, it was never that. It was always, and like I said, patriarchy and matriarchy are not our words. Okay. All right. These are not our words. All right. So being a man and having masculinity is not toxic. Okay. But at the same time, me being a man in the understanding of my culture is not patriarchy. Okay. Being a woman inside of our culture is not feminism. Okay. Matriarchy and patriarchy inside of our culture is a unification of the two energies to create a family structure and to better society. Ron. That's relationships in our thing. Okay. I don't care what nobody says. Patriarchy in its origin is tied to religion, and man is everything, and man gives orders, and man dominates women. Feminism. Women can do whatever a man can do. Men have to get out the way and let women run the show and all this other things like that. None of these things are natural to the planet. If you're not working together as a team in your proper places, natural places, women carry the culture, women carry the bloodline, and men are the protectors and maintainers of that culture and bloodline that the women produce, then you're not practicing anything. And if you're doing anything outside of that, then your patriarchy is religious, it's toxic, and so is your feminism, and we don't want neither one of them. All right. All right. So that's non-custodial. Non-custodial was that there's a supreme being, but it's not the focal point, meaning that I'm the focal point. It says straight music, connectivity, unification is not uniformity. We have ways to reach the Great Spirit, but there are no uniform way of getting enlightenment, and you're not an enemy for doing so. There you go, bro. Let me stop right there. Let me say that again. He said straight music. He said connectivity, unification is not uniformity. And that's something very important you just said, brother, Alpha Wolf, is that religion, custodial religions, are saying that the only way to connect to this, whatever this being they're worshiping is, well, I know what it is, but it's not the video for it, this demiurge, that you have to uniform yourself. Ucha, divine Armageddon, Ucha. That you have to uniform. This is why, but if you get to the root of it, it's custodial. He's going to break that down. Custodial religion, basically, let's uniform everything. Everybody has to wear an orange shirt. Everybody has to pray the same. Everybody has to look the same. Everybody has to talk the same. Everybody has to believe the same. It's a uniformed way. And it's no different than when you go to school, you sit in rows, they teach you the same thing. The classroom looks the same as it did 100 years ago. Okay, and you come out of school a factory worker, basically. You come out a cog in the wheel. Religion does the same thing. It's the same system. It's uniforming you and making you one thing in one way so they can control everything about you. The way you talk, the way you look, the way you speak, the way you believe, the way you feel. It's custodial. It's controlling. It's a dome. Okay, that's what it is. All right. All right. And you look at, and he says something else. He said, and we have ways to reach the Great Spirit. Right now, we have a base way. We meditate. We use crystals. We go out in nature. But it's not all the same for everybody. I like to talk to trees in my native tongue in Yamasee. I like to sun gaze a certain time of the day. I like to walk barefooted. You know what I'm saying? Exercise is meditation for me. I like to do my arm chants. That's my personal regimen for me personally. Outside of my everyday things that I do, where it's speaking out against the oppression of my people, whether it's speaking out against the fact that children are missing and nobody's talking about it. All those types of things, speaking about the patuta, speaking about the system that's holding us down, religion, politics. But my own alone time, outside of all of that, I have a thing that I do personally for my own spiritual growth that's connected to me. And everybody should have one. And it's not going to be the same for everybody. And the reason it won't be the same for everybody, because our experiences are not the same. And even if our experiences are the same, we have the same traumas, it didn't affect us the same. So the way that we approach them spiritually, and the way that we approach them in our minds won't be the same. So our spiritual actions and how we're growing and getting over our traumas will not be the same. If religion tells you it's all the same, this is why it doesn't work. This is why you don't see nobody elevating. Here and there you see people get a little bit in it, a little bit of light, because there's truth in it. If there's truth in it, there's some light in it. All right. But overall, it's about your uniformity and custodialism. It's about control. And this is why it's not working, because you cannot fix everybody the same, because the story isn't the same. Ucha. You got to be a Power Ranger and an RB group to get along with the community of religion. You have to have the destructive version of the hive mentality. You are not a soldier. Exactly. You are a drone at that point. Exactly. That's what they're creating, drones. Now, again, this is the book that I'm reading out of called Gods of Eden. All right. And he talks about here, too, by William Branley, who created the whole concept of the apocalyptic end and the day of judgment, and why they created those concepts and where they really got them from originally. That they wasn't exactly what religion is saying. It was a whole different concept, but they took some of the concepts, some of the mystery schools, and they added, institutionalized it, and then repackaged it and gave it back to us. All right. Islam and all those things like that. Originally, these things, these systems and these mysteries belong to us. But the forms they're in now, they added their culture to them. They added some of their own concepts to them, and they repackaged a system that didn't have to be repackaged. All right, and they made it custodial. Okay. All right. Now he says custodial religion, physical immortality is an important or desired goal in many custodial religions. Custodial religions basically tell you that you cannot seek redemption and you cannot be forgiven except that you have to have everlasting life in the hereafter. So what they do is they give you this thing that you can never know 100% where you're going when you die, right? According to them. And so you don't know what's going on after you supposedly die. So what they do is they give you horror stories behind it. So they say, oh, you're going to live forever after you die. You do know that, right? So, yeah, we know that. We know our soul lasts. Our souls are who we are in reality. This body is nothing, right? So the soul is who you are. But if you scare me, if you tell me that, yeah, my soul is going to live, but if you don't listen to my custodial concepts, you don't listen to the male patriarchal God, then you're going to burn forever. You're going to be tortured forever. Okay? You're going to be tortured forever. So this is part of the custodialism. So now you're afraid. Could you imagine walking around all day like that? I did. Practicing Islam, walking away, scared to do this, scared to do that. Every time you did something that wasn't right, you were scared, you were afraid, you felt guilt, you felt shame. You had to go make Toba, you had to go ask God to forgive you. It was a constant bombardment of your emotions and your soul and your mentality in a shameful, guilt-filled type of way. Okay? Because you realize that I'm going to live forever. I'm going to leave this realm and going to exist somewhere else forever. And they're telling me if I don't submit, that existence is going to be torture. That's custodialism. Okay? That's what that is, y'all. It's toxic to tell somebody that. That's not, right? All right. So, all right, he goes into says, now inside non-custodial beliefs, spiritual freedom and immortality are sought. Endless existence in the same physical body is deemed unimportant or undesirable. So in non-custodial, is spiritual freedom mean you pick your path, your spiritual freedom. There's no fear of a God punish you. There's no fear of going to hell. There's no fear of being destroyed. Right? And you know that you're going to be immortal. You know your soul's going to last. You already on that. You already understand that. But you don't put reliance on this body. You put reliance more so on your soul and your connection to the great spirit, that great divine source. All right. And connecting to it and elevating yourself. All right. Because the great spirit and this divine source wants you to become like it. Doesn't want you to be a slave to it. It wants you to become your best person. But any religion that's using the word slave, any religion using the word slave, any religion using the word submission, any religion telling you got to get on your knees, any religion telling you got to submit, any religion telling you to be scared, any religion threatening you, any religion telling you you don't submit, that it's a war or death or you're going to hell and being destroyed by a God, that is custodial religion. It's a controlled custodial belief system that wants to put you in constant fear and guilt. That's what it is. That's what it is. All right? But we don't have that in our spiritual systems. We never had that. We never had guilt and shame. You are the focal point of a true spiritual system. It's all on you. The body's necessary vehicle is also divine. Religion wants you to give up your vehicle so that they can drive into you because their spirits can't move on. Exactly. And what they do is too, Alpha Wolf, what they do, they make you seem like this life doesn't mean anything. All right, they'll tell you like it's okay, like it's some greatness in being poor. Like it's like you can't have anything, and it's like they make you seem like this life is so pitiful and so sick that you just want to hurry up and die and move on and go to the next life in paradise and be with angels and harps and singing and all that. See, they do is they want you to give up living. They want you to stop that life energy, so that, like you said, so they can take over the control of you. But this life means something. This realm does mean something. You know what I'm saying? And we're connected to it. But they want you to give up this life and give it over to a God. Our carbon-13 melanin is able to travel through space because it's made from the materials of the triple darkness. Exactly. And this is what the Quran actually says. But again, they hijacked it when it talked about the triple darkness and things like that. If you read the Bible and the Quran, these things, you read them without their hijack, and you pay attention to what's being said to you, it's telling you about the human body. Okay, it's telling you about consciousness. All right, but they turned all that information and put it into an archetypal God, and now they making you submit and worship this God. And really, it's talking about you. So they've tricked you into giving up who you are and to worship you and to worship something else other than you that's using descriptions of you to be worshiped by you. Think about that. This demiurge or these beings, the plain God, they've literally hijacked descriptions of you and got you to worship them using descriptions of you. That's exactly what's happening here. All right? It says custodial religions. Adherence to doctrine based upon faith or obedience alone is stressed. All right. So they're saying in custodial religions, all right, the custodial belief systems on the planet, like Islam and Christianity, Judaism, and all the rest of them, their adherence to doctrine. I mean, you have to adhere to a doctrine. This doctrine is set there for you, is given to you, and it's you got to follow it straight down the line. And you got to stick to it. There's no you in your own way of being comfortable. You know what I mean? You got to stick to. You got to do what Muhammad said. You got to do what Jesus said. You got to do what Moses said. You got to follow it correctly. They give you the way they live, the way they talk, the way they dress. That's not freedom. You're making another person the focal point of my life, other than the people who should be a focal point in my life, namely myself, my children, and the love of my life, and those people around me from my mother and all these other people in my life, if I can affect their life in a positive way. Even at some point, if they don't want to grow, there can no longer be a point in your life as well. But you always start with your own focal point, you. But religion tells you that you have to have blind faith and obedience to something you never met. And check this out right before I go on. He says, triple dark is the womb of space. You have to have the Masonic keys and legends in order to read these books. Otherwise, you'll fall into their spell as the unknowing. Exactly. Man, you listen here. I'm about to pin that, man. I'm about to pin that. So if you look at this obedience that people have, this blind faith that people have, right? I'll give you my experience, right? Can anybody hear me? Because sometimes he says doctrine is precise, and when you adopt a religion, you also adopt their beliefs, killing one another in the streets, adopting their spiritual and family genealogy, and throwing away yours. Exactly. 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 So what's your bloodline? Is that your bloodline? Is that your people? Because if it's going back to a genealogy, you throw yours away. You say how it doesn't matter. Your people are disbelievers and filthy and this, that, and the third. But you hang on to the words of another bloodline. Judaism or I don't know, Christ and whatever. They're all connected. It's all connected. These are all the same bloodlines. All right. There's different gangs and different families in the same bloodline that you're not tied to. That you're not tied to. All right. All right. Cool. Okay. We're back. So what I want to say about, like, I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna throw this at y'all. Right now, I'm an ex-Muslim. Right. Practice Sunni Islam. Grew up in Philly. That religion has a lot of our people in Philadelphia in total confusion. Abuse is being done. Just total chaos. Anybody from Philly that's on here can affirm exactly what I'm talking about. All the thugs and the gangsters. People were my friends, right? They were friends. They loved me, ate with them. As soon as I decided to say, you know what, this is custodial. This is not my ancestors' way. This is not the way of the Great Spirit. This is a demiurge. This is custodial. Something is off here. And I started doing my own research. So what people do is they won't try to find out what you're doing. They automatically go in defensive mode because that religion tells them they have to adhere to a blind obedience to something. I mean blind, I mean literally blind, because you've never seen this guy or Muhammad or Jesus or none of them. You've never seen these people, but you saw the person you hate now. The person you hate now, the person you can't stand now, this person has been in your life for a decade or more. Eating with this person, traveling with this person, being friends with this person, meeting this person's children. This person has never done anything personal to you, never robbed you, never harmed you, never did anything to you ever. And because they've changed their understanding of a concept, now this person has become your clear enemy and you treat them as such. You understand what I'm saying? And a person who's still part of that faith, who harms you and does something to you, you still call them brother. Even though they're actually disgusting and filthy in their behavior and their actions. But because they're tied to a concept and a bloodline with you, all right, that's not your own or theirs, you base your love and hate on something totally foreign. And guess what? You never met this guy. So you're hating the person you spent all this time with over something you've never had a relationship with. You never shook its hand. You never talked to it. It's never responded to you. You've never seen it. You never had a conversation. You never had an intimate anything with anything a part of that religion. Not the prophets, not the gods, not the angels, not anything that's spiritual in that religion. Have you ever had any concept with any spiritual connection to? You've never had any intimate anything with, but you still love that. Who has supposedly put all these traumas in your life, supposedly decreed for you to go through all these hardships. This God has done more to you, more wrong to you than I've ever done. But you hate me and you see me. I'm alive. I'm physical. You see me. But you hate me for something you've never met and you've never had an intimate relationship with. You've never had anything to do with. That is a mental illness, and that is custodial, and that is sick. It's sick. And we got to start calling it what it is. It's sick. That is sick. All right. So people have to adhere. People have to adhere to a thought. Say you on fire. Hey man, I'm just trying to be real, man. We got to start talking real talk here, man. Stop letting these people get away, man. Start backing them into a corner. Tell yo, that don't even make sense, man. That don't even make sense. You loving the Prophet Muhammad and Moses and all these people. You loving all these different bloodlines. But these not your bloodlines, though. These not your people. You love the Quraysh more than you love your own people. Who are the Quraysh? Who are these people? You love the Arabs more than you love your own people? You got to be kidding me. You got to be kidding me, man. And this is the situation I'm saying. This is a mental illness. This is brokenness. Our people are so broken away from who they are that anybody can give them anything. It's like a hungry person that's hungry. You throw a bone with some meat on there, a rib with some meat on there, he tear that joint up. Okay? You throw a cracker in there, they eat that joint up thinking about, what's this, a Ritz? What's this, a saltine? Eat anything. It says, even the book itself says, you claim to live whom you never met, but you hate your brother you see every day. Their own book says that. Yeah. Yeah. You hate your brother. You hate somebody that done nothing but good towards you. Never harmed you anyway, but you hate this person. That's because they're told to have blind faith and adhere obedience. You have to bow down to obedience. Now, in non-custodial religion, it says observation and reason are held to be the proper foundation for adhering to a doctrine. I mean, observation and reason, not blind faith and obedience. Not because I just got to believe that. One thing I love about animism, you're the focal point, and you're called to understand everything that you do and look at it in a reasonable, logical way. And how can I take that and apply it to my life in reason and in logic? There's no fear. I observe things. I go out in nature and I close my eyes or I open my eyes and I look and I observe the world around me. And I learn by observation. I don't learn because it said me a God said I have to do this. Who's this God? Who said he said it? Where's the origin of this book? Where does it come from? Who's these gods? What's the origin? What's the history? We don't observe. We don't ask questions. We don't ask questions. If I came to you right now and said, hey, Bruce told me to tell you that you have to sit down in this chair 10 times a day and say these words, you're going to tell me who the fuck is Bruce? You're going to, who's Bruce? I don't know nobody named Bruce. You never going to allow me to come up to you and tell you that. But we allow people to come up to us with robes on and tell us a God said something. And then we base how we treat our family, our women, our people, everybody around us based upon somebody coming with a robe on from across the ocean telling me a God said. If I came to you right now and said that, you wouldn't accept it from me. If I told you Bruce, you would not accept Bruce telling you anything without any observation, any reason or logic. But we accept that from foreigners coming over here telling us what to do in their custodial belief systems. Enough is enough. We should be ashamed and we should be embarrassed. So observation. Yeah, who's Bruce? I don't know that guy. Exactly. Observation and reason are held to be the proper foundations for adhering to a doctrine. And the doctrine is your own. When I go out in nature on my personal elevation and I do my own thing, everybody's not doing the same. I live here with the love of my life. We don't meditate the same. We don't use the same crystals all the time. We don't sun gaze the same. We don't sunbathe the same. We do some of the same things. You understand what I'm saying? But it's you who, like, for example, I'll give you an example. Using a base, but creating something new. We have a Yamasi prayer, that protection prayer, right? A relative, an elder passed away. So the elder passed away. So what we decided to do with the children is we went out into nature and it was an old tree. An old pine needle tree. Where I take pine needles off here to make my pine needle tea. So we went over there to the tree, and I usually go talk to these trees at least once or twice a week in Yamasi, speaking with these same trees, sitting next to them, talking with them and stuff like that. So we went to this old tree, and we took a picture of the elder who passed, and we looked at the picture, and we told the children to look at the picture. We put our hands on this old tree, and we said the Yamasi protection prayer. So to send protections upon this ancestor, this elder that was now passing on out of this realm into another one. And guess what? That was something that we do as a family. I don't know who else does that, but we use the Yamasi prayer, we use nature, we use animism, we use Mama Earth, Mudata to do it. Okay? It was the things that we were using was from the base of our ancestors, but we did it in a different way because we are the culture. We are the culture. We dictate what culture is. It's not this custodial rigid thing where, oh, my ancestors walked this way or my ancestors didn't. No, everything changes with time. The base may stays the same, but how we apply it and how we live it is always going to change. It's always in movement. You know why? Because life is always in movement. Religion keeps you stuck because the system is always there. It's always the same. It doesn't move. But that's not our spiritualism. That's not animism. Animism, just like nature, it adapts. It moves. It's like water. That's why we Altamaha, people of elements, Ta, Alta, Ta, earth, Ma, water, Ha, soul, that makes up this body. And this body's always changing, just like life does. And we change the same way. Even though my ancestors used the Yamasi prayer, even though they was out in nature, yeah, Pa Shahurat, exactly, the trees, the Pa Shahurat. This is what we do. And so we created a family tradition from old traditions and made something new. That's not custodial. Custodial is doing the same thing over and over and over and over again because it's about control. You have no room for development. And as soon as you develop something different, they call it an innovation. They call it evil. It's not following the sunnah. It's this, it's that. All right. Now, custodial religion. He says, and it's not, he says, right. He and nobody, I don't look for something outside of myself. Exactly, KC 45th. And it's not truly custodial either. The people pushing it stole and corrupted it. You never see the true indigenous peoples of that culture witnessing to others nor forcing their way of life on others. Exactly. The religions we see today are just shells and memories of the older systems that were in those lands before the invaders came there and institutionalized those systems. Plain and simple. And you'll never know until they tell you or ask. Exactly. The Pashagorat, the trees. That's what I'm telling y'all, people. Go out in Natuk, or Natuk, and the Pashagorat. Talk to the trees, sitting with nature. You know what I'm saying? Sit with nature. It says now, custodial religion, severs or fatal physical punishments are sometimes employed or advocated during the religion's history to deal with non-believers or backsliders. He's saying that in custodial religions, that severe or fatal physical punishments, either in this life or the next, are employed or talked about and advocated during the religion's histories to deal with non-believers or backsliders. So one of the attributes of a custodial religion is you're being threatened, even in this life, with some type of religious punishment, all right, for not believing in it anymore. They kill you because in Islam, you die if you leave Islam. Or it's some threat to the hereafter. Like in religion, they teach you that you're going to burn in hell, you're going to hang by your breasts, and your tongue going to get poured out, and fire going to go in your butt, and you're going to drink boiling water that burns your throat out, and the fire's hotter than the sun, and you're going to burn there for eternity. After 1 million years, you're still going to be burning. Your skin going to get bigger so it can burn slower. All these threats. Any religion that's threatening you to stay in line, that's custodial religion. No different than when you're in prison and they tell you, oh, if you mess up, you get 3 hot. You get 23 and 1 now. No TV time. You can't walk the yard. Same thing. And the same people created the institution of courts, prison, and all that stuff like that we see today has been initiated by the same people that initiated these religions or corrupted these religions, just like they corrupted the political systems and everything else on the planet. He said, "Nope, laugh out loud. It ain't gonna never happen." Yeah, that's what they teaching, man. That's what they teaching. They teaching, man. When you die, man, you're gonna get poured out of your body and slammed into the grave, and this is what they teaching people. You know what I'm saying? This is the custodial way of controlling people. All right, you have to give them something that they can't necessarily. If they're not spiritually in tune, they can't argue with it really. Because how you gonna argue? You don't know what's gonna happen to you after you die, supposedly. So if somebody comes in and tell you this is going to happen to you, you don't accept Islam or Christianity or Judaism or whatever, and this is going to happen to you when you die in your grave, you're going to get crushed in your grave, an angel going to beat you with a hammer and shit like that. I mean, how you going to argue that? You don't, you know what I'm saying? How you going to, you're not in connect to your ancestors. You don't know your spiritual system. You don't have the knowledge or the information to respond to that logically and reasonably. Then you're going to believe it. It's a threat. If somebody comes to you with a gun, you know what I'm saying, put it to your head, you ain't going to really argue with them right there. Only a fool going to argue. You know what I'm saying? But that's the same thing with religion, man. They put a metaphorical threat to your head psychologically, a psychological gun to your head, and they try to get you to submit that way. And that doesn't work, then they invade your country and cut your head off and enslave your women and children. That's another thing that religion does. All right. Now, non-custodial religions, it says physical punishments or duress are very mild to non-existent. Severest punishment is usually formal exclusion of an individual from the religious organization. Now, he's saying non-custodial beliefs is that there is really no physical punishments. All right. There's spiritual punishment, but that's on you. There's no God that's going to punish you for that. Spiritual punishment like karma or whatever you put out in the universe comes back. That's the threat of that. But that's you. You do that. If you live a certain way, that's going to come back. So if you're a drug dealer and you shooting at people and you selling dope and all that, there's a story to that. There's a concept to that. There's a journey to that. That's already predestined for anybody that chooses that. You understand what I'm saying? And it's going to happen to you because whatever energy you throw out, it's going to come back to you. It's not that something wrote down for you to do that. You chose that. And whatever movie you chose, there's a script that has to be played out to that movie. But you chose the script. And that script has characters in it. It has a storyline behind it and everything else. That's your choice. You chose that. Okay? Like everything else. So the only punishment is the punishment you met out psychologically and by choice that you met out for yourself. That's non-custodial. But custodial religion tells you that God decreed everything for everybody. He wrote everything for everybody. He knows everything's going to happen to everybody. So every shitty thing that's ever happened in your life, that God you're praying to wrote it down. He watched it. He looked at it. He saw it. He was okay with it. All the 8 million children going missing. All the children going missing. 8 million a year. God wrote that, supposedly. He decreed it in detail. Everything that happens to that child when it gets kidnapped by being sodomized, blood being drank, being skinned alive, being beheaded, being tortured, being scared, being imprisoned, being sold, being raped, being sexualized. God wrote all of that, supposedly. This is the God they want us to bow down to. This is the God they want us to be afraid of. This is the God they want us to submit to. I ain't doing it. He don't deserve no praise. He don't deserve submission. Nothing that does that. If you met somebody that was into that had those same qualities, you will hate this person guts. But then again, your butt in the air and your face on the ground pleading to the same God that does that right there. And try to make it make sense because it doesn't. Okay, you create your cycles. Brother said, you create your cycles. You make a choice out of free will, 100% free will. Your choices. Now, this is where it gets tricky, though. Is it possible I'm going through shit now from a past life? Or no, I don't know. It's possible. It's definitely possible. They're forcing you to believe what they believe in and taking away your free will. If you let them, you can't even question their religion. If I can't question it, why force someone to believe it, what you believe in? Exactly, bro. See, this is where it gets tricky, right? Check this out. This is where it gets tricky. Your imagination, right? Now follow me. Your imagination is the creator, right? So whatever you imagine, so everything that ever existed was an imagination of somebody's at one point. This was somebody's imagination. All right. This right here, this Orgone pyramid, somebody's imagination, right? This book was William Bramley's imagination, right? He thought of it. He thought of it, how to create it. He went and did the research and he created a book, right? This came out of his head first, though, out of his mind, right? Cell phones, somebody's imaginations. Everything that we see and touch was in somebody's mind at one time, right? So meaning that people themselves, especially indigenous people of the planet, we have a great imagination, okay? We are the creators of everything. So they know that. These entities know that. So how do you get the creators, right? The creators to create the world you want? How do you do that? Well, you have to create institutions that are mental and that can mentally gear them or mentally shape them in a way to give you what you want. So what you have to do is, one of the things that you have to do is you have to create some type of trauma. You have to create bad memories. You have to create emotional complex situations that people now forget about themselves because the pain is so much to now they got to turn to whatever you're doing. It's called Hegelian dialect. And God does this very well. The God they say that exists does this very well. So what it is that, so, because without these traumas, without this Hegelian dialect, without the problem and the solution, there'd be no need to call upon their God. Because if everything was okay, you would never have to ask him anything. You would never have to go to him, because the only time people go to God is when they're in trouble, when they're sad, or when they're broken, when they want to get forgiveness, or when they feel guilt, or when they feel shame. That's the only time. Because you read their books, the only time he wants you to come to him is when you do something bad, or thank him for something that he got you out of. So the system had to create these types of scenarios. So what they do is that they say, okay, how do I get these people to create that? How do I get them to create that? So you have to create traumas. And so this God has to do that. So this is why in all religions it talks about suffering, punishment, guilt, fear, begging, obedience, pleading. It has to do that because, but at the same time, so once it creates that in your mind, you keep reliving it. It's a book called How to Become Supernatural by Joe Dispenza. Check it out. It's called How to Become Supernatural by Joe Dispenza. And he breaks down how the mind works. Okay, your mind creates everything. Your mind creates everything. So if you're traumatized, what happens with trauma when it doesn't get fixed, you keep reliving the trauma in your mind, even though it's past. But your body and your mind doesn't know the difference between an actual event or a memory. All it knows is that you're thinking about it in the same exact way, and your body's going to react in the same exact way, because your mind's not, your subconscious mind and your mind's not going to say, oh, it happened 10 years ago. No, it's going to feel what you're feeling. It's going to keep creating that emotion. So emotions create feelings. Feelings create actions. The actions create the thoughts. And then the thoughts create the emotions, and the emotions create the feelings, and the feelings create the actions, round and round and round and round and round and round a bit. Hold on, I'll write it down here. Hold on. Yeah, How to Become Supernatural by Joe Dispenza. So it says here, let me go back up. It says you got to think for yourself. We're not religious, period. We take shit from every which way and learn from it. They ask is even said in the Bible that Satan is the God of this plane. So motherfuckers praising the opposite of what and who they think they are. All of them denominations, no doubt. They pick and choose what they want to learn. Yes, you're right, Heatness. You don't, no doubt. You know what I'm saying? No doubt. They do. What's the book called again? It said, Debt Systematic Slaves. Find your soul, then they can find your soul and or person. Turn your real into a fictional. Yep. You used to being a slave in debt and feeling guilty for no reason at all. Always feeling you owe something other than self. Exactly. Exactly. That's how they create all this world and this trauma. It's all mental. And then you got to run to the God who supposedly decreed it all 50,000 years before he created everything. He supposedly decreed all the trauma, wrote all the trauma. He created all the trauma. He controls all the trauma. He controls all the fear. He controls all the good. He controls all these things. Then he gives you the good and the bad. And he gives you all these bad things that happen to you. So then when you react to it in a way, because like I said again, thoughts turn into emotions, emotions turn into feelings, feelings turn into actions, actions create the same thoughts. So once they get you on a treadmill of trauma and a treadmill of certain thoughts and actions, it's hard to get out of it. Okay? And then they got to give you institutions now to keep you in that guilt. So they create religions. Then these religions come along and tell you now, for the trauma, for the way you feel, for your actions, now you're bad for that. Now you fall into guilt because now this God is going to guilt you and say, look how bad you are. Look how sinful you are. Look how sick you are. You were born this way. You're a child of Adam, so-called, or whatever. And Adam sinned and now you're sinful. And you're the blame for your situation, even though he supposedly decreed your whole situation. This is all custodial. Okay? Okay? They make you the focal point of all your problems when you didn't create any of your problems, supposedly in their doctrine that the God decreed and he created your problems. And you're just here like a mouse caught in a tail caught by a cat. And wherever the God blows you, that's where you go. But that's not non-custodial religion. You're responsible. Non-custodial animism makes you the focal point. Your connection to the Great Spirit is based upon you. Your connection to nature is based upon you. You are literally 100% the focal point of what your life is or isn't. Okay? You cannot blame God in animism. You can't blame an angel. You can't blame the devil. Everything's on you. Like I tell you, you may not be able to blame you for the things you went through in your life, but you are responsible and held accountable for how you react to them and how you change them. That's it. I love animism because animism makes me a responsible man. It makes me a responsible husband, a responsible father, a responsible person in my life. That I'm responsible. There's no guilt and shame because I make the criterion of what is me. I make the criterion. I can meet my own criteria. I can't meet this guy's criteria. You understand? I can't meet this guy's criteria. But if you, in animism, you are a natural person, then you meet your own criteria. I create my own criteria, meaning I have a criteria about things I want to meet in a day or in my life. Okay, how I want to feel. What's my spirituality? What's my greatness? Ucha Benita. Hey, so I am the criteria. So if I don't meet it, I don't feel guilty about it. Because I know now that I created the criteria. So I'm going to now manipulate the criteria or fix the criteria so I can meet it. But you can't do that in religion. Religion has a criteria that's black and white and custodial and controlling that you can never, ever get around it. And if you fail at it, the guilt comes into your heart. And that's the whole point of it, to keep you guilty and broken. Okay? Now, non-custodial, let me see what somebody said. He says, they talk about Michael the archangel and say it means one who is like God or godlike. Yet Mikael means who dares to be like God. All angels are morning stars like Satan. Exactly. And Jesus, even Bible said he was the morning star. So Jesus and the devil are the same exact energy. But that's a whole other conversation. You don't want heavy right now, Alpha Wolf. Then they say Jesus is a bright and morning star, yet he is still in flesh form. Be death, but the flesh is evil. What? Exactly. Exactly. All right. He says custodial religion, belief that being born in a human body either once or many times through reincarnation is a part of a broad spiritual plan which will ultimately benefit every human being. Non-custodial religion says belief that there is no hidden spiritual purpose to a human existence and that the process of death, amnesia, rebirth causes spiritual decay. So they're saying that non-custodial, and I don't necessarily agree with him on this one, but not basically custodial religion is saying that the process of always being in a human body, or that process of the soul going in the body and stuff like that, is basically saying it's like some benefits us in some way like that, right? Like basically being stuck in his body is okay. But in non-custodial religion is that you want to elevate past the body. You know, you want to become something greater than your body, right? But your body is that vehicle that helps you get to that plateau. So you and your body, that's why we call ourselves Automahal, because we understood that the elements make up my body and that the soul is an element. And that my soul, the tar, the dirt, the ma, the water, and my soul are unified in unison to create what you see right here. So there is no separation between them. You understand what I'm saying? Now, I existed before my body did, obviously, but I'm going to exist after my body. But I'm in my body, and there's nothing wrong with me being in my body. I'm not evil. I'm not born in sin. I'm not born wicked. That's what custodial religion teaches you, that you're sinful and wicked, and that your body is sinful and wicked. No, your body is a divine vehicle. It's beautiful, but it is something past it. And that's your goal here. What is past it? What are you inside, deep in your core? That's your job here. But religion tells you that you're here to worship a God. It automatically, as soon as you come out, soon as you come out the womb, they teach you that you got to thank this God and be a slave and a worshiper of this God. When you come out the womb, they put you in a school system that tells you got to be a slave to the system. Religion and the political system is no different. The God in the sky and these people in these government positions are the same entities. The same. Read it. Take your emotions out of it. Sit back, close your eyes, and calm down. And look at religion for what it is, and look at the politics of the planet for what it is, and you will see it's the same exact system repackaged. That's it. Custodial religion. Belief that there are higher forces, gods, or supernatural entities which control people's individual or collective fates. Human beings have no control over those forces and can only yield to them. We already talked about that. Okay, any religion telling you, salute to the chat, you're here because you are a fellow star seed. Your journey brought you here now to be reminded of your inner light and mission to reawaken the inner God within self. Self is the God, no doubt. No doubt. He says belief. So custodial religion tells you that there's these gods or whatever, this one God. What's dominating the planet right now is this one God thing. Allah, Jehovah, whoever these, I know who they are. Enlil and Enki and the Anunnaki, the Sumerian gods. These are who these gods are. All right. Now, and that's who set all this stuff up. Other corrupt star seeds, not all of them, but other corrupt star seeds that came here and corrupted the system and wanted to go beyond natural law. And they did. They broke natural law and natural systems. And then they want to be praised and worshiped. And that's going against natural law. That's going against the law of the great spirit and the law of the great universe to do what they did, to create these systems. This is what they did. These other star seeds. You know, some of them call them the Anunnaki, whatever the case may be, the fallen angels, whatever you call them. They went against natural law, universal law, and this is what comes from when you do that. All right? All right, so it says custodial religion, belief that there are higher forces, gods, or supernatural entities which control people's individual collective fates. Human beings have no control over those forces and can only yield to them. I told you. You hear anything telling you this right here? It's custodial and it's not natural to the planet. Non-custodial says belief that all people are ultimately responsible for having created their own conditions in life, good and bad, by their own actions and inactions, and that all people can ultimately control their own destinies. It's a difference. I don't subscribe. Vanita said, I don't subscribe to any religion. My soul is eternal, just in a physical body for this lifetime to have an experience. Exactly. Exactly. But they want to trap you mentally, because the mind is the soul. The mind and soul is the same thing. If you can trap that, you can trap the soul. That's why people get caught in treadmills of trauma and life experiences and experiences that they want for you, though, not the ones you choose for yourself. They want you're still making a choice, but you're making the choices they want you to make. Even though you're the one free will making the choice, they set it up to where as though if you go along with it mentally, you're going to only make the choices they lay out for you. And they know that you freely can make one. As soon as you make a choice, boom, a script is opened up. A script is followed. And they know that. This is why they play these games with you. Facts, a power struggle. The ones who helped us father ourselves together and the others who want to subjugation. We're supposed to live in Eden within self on this plane we choose. Exactly. So we're finding a power struggle on this planet right now between the natural people of the planet and those who came here. So we're finding a power struggle between star seeds. We're finding a power struggle. So it's all going to be exposed and opened up. We're going to find out exactly what's going on. You're going to see it and people are going to wake up to it. But remember, you're responsible. He says, we're plasma energy. Energy transforms, it don't die. We before the body, like you said, my brother, of course. So this the thing. So you are responsible for you. You're responsible for cleaning your act up. Don't blame women. Don't blame men. You're responsible for your behavior. You know what I'm saying? You may not be responsible for what happened to you in your life as far as the people who decide to traumatize you and harm you mentally and physically. Okay? But at the end of the day, you're responsible for how you act, how you react. And if you are going to put that same trauma and energy back onto someone else, you're responsible for that. And the only way to get responsible is to go inside into your core and start being responsible for you and what you are and what you believe and what you say and what you feel. If you're allowing yourself to be controlled by religion, politics, television, somebody else outside of you can change your emotions or change the way you feel about you, then you have a lot of work to do. Then you have not yet elevated to a point where you're responsible. It says, we chose to become flesh to have the human experience. It's not evil. Evil is living backwards. That's not coincidence at all. That's why we are here to do. Yeah, so you're saying exactly. Evil is the word live and backwards, of course, because they're saying that to be alive is to be evil. This is why they teach you in religion the original sin. That's why they tell you in all these religions that you're sinful and weak, because they're trying to tell you that your life itself, your fact that you exist has in it a flaw in the computer. That you existing has in it innate born flaw in it, and that's you being human. Being a person or being alive is an innate flaw and sinful in its very existence. They teach you that in religion. Okay? Because they want to teach you that the word live is the word evil backwards. So evil is live. So they're trying to tell you that you're evil by your very existence. And it's all mental. Vanita, she says, that's why we are here to elevate our consciousness and raise our frequency and vibration and break through all the control. Exactly. Exactly. I'm going to pin your comment, Vanita. But check out the book called How to Become Supernatural by Joe Dispenza. All right. It says, that's what truth do. Anytime you speak truth to power, they attack like they did the live earlier. No doubt. Alpha Wolf. It says, custodial religion, belief that only one supreme being alone created the physical universe. All right. So they basically tell you that custodial religion, that there's this one invisible God that you've never met or talked to, created everything. And for that, he deserves your total obedience and worship. Non-custodial religion, belief that everyone has something to do with the creation and or perpetuation of the physical universe. So in animism, it's saying that everybody is part of creation. Everybody's energy keeps creation going. But custodial religion tells you, no, you don't have nothing to do. You're just a slave. You're nothing. You have to submit. You have to worship. But animism says that we're connected to everything. Everything that's alive has a soul. Inanimate objects has souls and energy in it. This juice has energy in it. This cucumber has energy in it. All right. I have a soul and energy in me. Trees have souls and energies in them. The sun has energy in it. It all has soul. It all has energy. It all has power. And that we're all interconnected through that chain, through that energy that's running through everybody. And that so if that's the case, that the universe itself that we're created from, and that the universe exists with the same energy and the same soul and the same power, that we are part of that engine that keeps everything going. That we have a part to play in creation. Because we're constantly creating through our imagination, through our actions, through our talk, that we're keeping everything going. And all we have to do is take back the power of imagination and start imagining the world the way we want it to be, not how these custodial people have pushed the world to be. That we have to realize that we're the creators and that we're the ones destined to create. So either you're going to create what they want you to create and the world's going to stay crazy like it is. We're going to start to create what you want to create when you start to elevate and get control of creation, and that you'll realize that you're the one that's creation. Remember that it's all an illusion, and that you can create your own version of that outside of what they're talking about. Okay. It says exactly. You have to redirect their intent to know that living backwards can be considered evil. But they also say darkness is bad when it's the beginning. Exactly. Everything came out of darkness. In their Bible, it said, God said, let there be light. So why would he also turn a light on? Because the light meaning they're bullshit. Okay? All right? Turn their machines on. Turning their matrix on. Because darkness was already here. Darkness is older than light. So the light they're talking about is not the light that we're talking about. Not talking about that soul energy, that soul light, them chakras. They ain't talking about that. When God said, let there be light, he was talking about taking over. Animism, they try to tell you is dead worship, but that's a whole entire lie. We enter and understand that all things are living, period. The form of frequency of animation is different. Exactly. Everything lives on a different frequency. This is why I do Om chants. This is why sometimes I say, oh, my mouth open, because that sends vibration out into the surrounding area around me. And sometimes I say, and it sends that same energy into me. Animism, animation, exactly. Everything is animated. So when you learn how to use your frequencies, and I know how to, I know how to use these, how to chant with these, what frequency goes along with these, this sacred geometry and things like that. You change your frequency changes up. You know what I'm saying? Even when we speak our language, we say mudata. We say anuki ashuk antak. You know, I love you. Anuki ashuk antkum. You know, pa shagorat. I can say aneya jalus fi pareus. I sit in the sun. You know what I'm saying? All these different type of words that we say. If you look at the ancient languages, it's all about breathing. It's all about all of that. You know what I'm saying? Because it's natural. Because the language itself sounds like nature. You know? It sounds like nature. So, you know, you say Altamaha. You know what I'm saying? It's a language that breathes. It's a language that's alive, because this frequency is the frequency of everything else around you, the nature that's around you. You understand what I'm saying? So they want to get us away from that. Okay, they want to get us away from that. You know, they want us to get us into their frequency, which is religion's, the frequency of shame and guilt and fear. They need you in that frequency. They need you there. So that way they can use you to create the world that they're living in, which is one of fear, guilt, and shame and brokenness. Ucha, Tavion. What's going on, brother? Tavion. The mouth open and breathing control while in the sun before after a meal. While enhance your control and digestive more potently. Exactly. You're right, man. You're right. Breathing in, you know, through your nose. Breathing in through your mouth. Out your nose. It's like a cycle. It's a circle of breathing, you know? Or, you know, you can hold your hands in the air like this. You can say, Anuki Hayuzi Nasuf. I'm life itself. And, you know, and breathe in through your nose. All of that is what they don't want you doing. You know? Nun Hayuzi Nasuf. We are life itself. We are life. You don't have to submit and beg something. You are it. You are life. The Great Spirit and you have the same energy flowing through you. And the Great Spirit is all around you. Life is all around you. So if life is all around, I mean the Great Spirit is all around you, and you're connected to that life force. So you can easily connect to it. It's no fear. It's no guilt. It's no begging. It's no submitting. It's no I'm scared. It's none of that. It's going out and finding your niche. How do you connect to the Great Spirit? How are you going to do that for you? What is it that you do? I like to use crystals. I like the sun gaze. I like to go out and talk to trees. I like to walk through nature. That's how I do it. But what is your way? You got to come up with a system. You are a greatest work of art taking form. No doubt, brother. No doubt. All right. Custodial religion, human suffering, toil, and enslavement are part of broader spiritual plan, which will ultimately lead to salvation, freedom for those who obediently adore to it. So in custodial religion, this is what they teach. I mean, listen, y'all. Listen. These religions teach you that every religion, the Quran and Bible teach you man is born in suffering. You are a masterpiece, master your piece, no doubt, brother Tavion. Human suffering. Every religion teaches you have to suffer. for this God, though. And that being enslaved. Every religion, they allow slavery. They make some excuse that slavery is okay, or they try to get some conditions to it. It's how you treat a slave. No, nobody should be a slave. Don't give me no conditions about slavery. Just tell me slavery is wrong. But then these same religions forbid alcohol, but you don't forbid slavery in totality. You give me conditions to where somebody can be a slave. All right? And that your suffering and your enslavement and garbage that you go through in life is some ultimate plan. The 8 million children being kidnapped and killed and sexualized and eaten and bloodletted a year is some part of some cosmic plan that God has planned out that ultimately leads to freedom for everybody. What? So you telling me the only way for us to get free and to be saved by God is to allow 8 million children to be disappear, to be sodomized, sexualized, bloodlet, killed, organs to be transplanted? That has to happen because it's some ultimate plan for our salvation. So that has to happen. 8 million a year. Okay. Right. So we have to ultimately, so it's basically a woman, say for example, a woman is in a relationship or being battered in a relationship, right? She's being beat up in a relationship. So the guy that's beating on her is telling her, look, I'm doing this because I love you, and that's the only way I can correct your behavior. In the end, it's going to be okay. We're going to be fine in the end. But you got to take this butt whipping for a little while. You know what I'm saying? You got to get beat down for a little while, and everything's going to be all right in the end. The same thing as God is telling you. You and this God basically has a very violent, volatile, narcissistic, domestic, poorly domestic relationship. And this God is a narcissist because if you don't obey him, he beats on you with traumas and threats and sends you to a place to burn forever if you don't listen to him. But if you change your life like I did, physically, emotionally, and mentally, I took responsibility for myself. I didn't blame nobody. I stopped blaming others. Stop blaming God, the devil, women. I stopped blaming everybody. And I said, okay, even though these things did happen to me, people are responsible for some of the things that happened to me, but I'm ultimately responsible for me. And when I did that, my health got better. My body got stronger. My mental got better. My soul, I got control of that. And I'm still in a process. So, but according to this guy, being as I didn't do it according to an institutional custodial way, whether it's Islam, Christianity, Judaism, whatever the other religions is out here, that I'm still going to hell and it's not good enough because it wasn't done according to how he said it. That's a narcissist that never gives you credit until you totally obey them or totally do what they tell you to do, and they never give you credit. That's a narcissist, y'all. That's part of narcissism. And that's what this God is. Okay? That's what I'm trying to tell people, all right? All right? All right. So it says now, in non-custodial religions, it says human suffering and toil and enslavement are social ills. So in animism is basically saying that human suffering, toil, and enslavement are social ills that are constructed by people and stand in the way of any spiritual salvation and freedom. So non-custodial religion, animism, basically says that human suffering and enslavement are not something that leads to our salvation. It's not something that God is doing because we need to go through this and all that stuff. No, it's something that man has created through his broken imagination. Okay, and putting out into the energy and into the universe what gives back. The Great Spirit is not concerned with how you feel. The Great Spirit is concerned about balance. The source is concerned about balance. Okay, so when you create imbalance, it's going to put out certain things in the balance that imbalance out. So whatever you imagine, whatever you put out to this movie that we're living in, it will take place. Okay, so human suffering and non-custodial animism, human suffering and toil and enslavement are social ills that have no constructive purpose, that people constructed and stand in the way of spiritual salvation and freedom. It says also mastery. It says Alpha Wolf says also mastery of self allows nature to submit to and around you, because once you walk in self, you submit to mama. right? Mudata, Mama Earth, is balance, frequency, and serenity. All is one. No doubt. It says, Themi takes system of animation, which are parts of self, and made religion from it. Exactly. They did that. They took animism and animation. They took parts of it, institutionalized it, put a godhead to it, and created religion. And then they tell you these are prophets and messengers that's teaching you this make-believe system. And then they connect it to a bloodline, which is theirs, their bloodlines. All religion goes back to a bloodline that's not American. All of it. All of it goes back to a bloodline from the East. Okay? All of it. It says, all is all is one. Arm, leg, arm, head, supreme head. Allah, Yahweh, Yah, He, you, we exist. Yahweh, hand and breath. It's all you. Exactly. Exactly. Right. I thought we had free will, though. How you going to send me to hell for not listening to you or doing what you want me to do? I have a choice. Can't just send me there without my choice. Exactly. 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 It says custodial religion, spiritual recovery and salvation depends entirely upon the grace of God or other supernatural entity. So in their custodial beliefs, your salvations only comes from God if God decides. Okay, he decides to guide you. He decides to let you go to heaven. It's all going back to somebody other than you. So I'm still going to hell according to them. I'm still going to burn in hell because I'm not a Muslim. Even though my life is better, I treat the love of my life like a queen. I treat my children with gracious, and I'm a loving father, a loving husband, a loving son, brother. I don't mistreat people. I'm always got a smile on my face. I go on my way for any and everybody. But they say if you're not doing it according to the narcissist God's way, that it's all for nothing. You're going to burn in hell anyway. This is what they teaching. Vanita, she says, we are always connected to the heart of creation. We just need to remember and believe and embody that we are powerful creators. Yep. It's always about control. Tavion says it's always about control. I definitely decode that new Jurassic Park movie. So they mention control over genetic power and coexisting with the past resurfacing. Exactly. Man, you called. I just seen it too. They're talking about the fact that genetically they're running out of time and that the planet is going back to normal. The dinosaurs is just a symbolism for the planet going back to how it used to be. Right? We're not talking about believing in dinosaurs. We're saying that that's a symbolism for the planet reversing and genetics being changed and that the planet going back to what it used to be without them. And they're trying to control that. Right. Something outside of you no one ever seen before. Exactly. And then they hate you based on something they've never seen before and willing to kill and fight you over and try to disgrace you over somebody they never met before. And they have a whole lifetime with you. The old is new and the new is old. Yep. 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 It says, so they basically teach you spiritual salvation is based upon God basically deciding and say, you know what? I want him to go to heaven. You know what? He's going to die a believer. Oh, she's going to die a disbeliever. Oh, you're going to burn in hell. You're not going to burn in hell. You're not going to do this. You're not going to do that. So ultimately, no matter what you do, according to them, it's all up to God. So you're not responsible for your own destiny. Because if God wrote everything, decreed everything, created everything, and knows everything, and then he's the one that decides on your spiritual salvation and not ultimately, then nothing is ever you're responsible for. You're basically a child being dictated to by some father, some sky daddy, like the brother Bro Sanchez said. He said we suffer from SDS, sky daddy syndrome. The brother Bro Sanchez, he said we suffer from SDS, sky daddy syndrome. We want to be bossed around. So you telling me my whole entire existence ultimately is not my responsibility, that somebody I've never met before is behind the scenes. He's going to dictate to whether or not my spiritual life is blossoming, whether or not my so-called hereafter is good. Ultimately, that's who's deciding it. Somebody I've never met before, never had any discussion with. If y'all want to keep on following that, then I don't know what to tell you. You see, when nature is left alone, these things return. Animals and ferns pop out of the woodworks. Guess what? Who's noticed? Anybody seen the animals you've never seen before? My lady, she's been seeing animals and I've seen animals that I've never seen before. The brother Kali from Philly, he was talking about seeing animals and birds that we've never seen before popping out of anywhere. You know why? Because the energy in the cycle went back around again. Why you look in the sky, you see nothing but rainbows and portals and colors in the sky? Why? What's happening on the planet? The sun is so hot already. The sun is bright. Anybody who sun gaze and spend time out in the sun, you can feel the difference. 2 suns in the sky now, 3 suns. I seen one video. The moon last night had rainbow colors around it. What's happening? Rise of the Black Eagle. That's what's happening. Rise of the Black Eagles. The natural people of the planet is starting to snap out of the BS. All right. And non-custodial animism, spiritual recovery and salvation are entirely up to the individual to achieve through his or her own self-motivated efforts. Boom. Religion tells you ultimately God is going to decide whether or not you okay or not. But animism says that you are the sole choice. You are the one who saves yourself. And ultimately, you're the one who recognizes what you are. You're the one that saves yourself spiritually and makes the decision to save yourself ultimately. Okay, you've been fooled, people. All these gods that people plan to, these are corrupt star seeds. Whether they're still here or not, these are corrupt star seeds that wanted to be worshipped, that wanted to be gods and want to still play God. Okay, all of these, and they came and hijacked the system that we were already doing before they showed up about what was a God and all these types of things, and ultimately was you. And all they did is put their faces and their institutions upon a system and a science that already existed here that had nothing to do about being submission and a slave to a God. They just turned it into that, and they used the same science with a corrupt version of it to control you and make you worship you. So basically, they took all these attributes, put their faces on it, their energy on it, and now got you praying and bowing and submitting and crying to descriptions of you. The gaming, anyways, a true God is going to shape and create a system, then truth around and go against that system. Just to style on us. Laugh out at some point, our becomes our fault too. Yep. They take the fathers out of the equation so they can force you to submit to the narcissistic father. The absence, so-called God, where God, Great Spirit is nature and the bonds itself. Exactly. Right? The demiurge. Check out this book called the Hamad Nagadi Scriptures. I actually ordered it and I've been going through it, and it's breaking down exactly this demiurge energy. And it gives you a lot of symbolism. You read through the lines and check it out. It's deep how it breaks down exactly who this demiurge, who this God of the Bible is, which goes back to being Enlil anyway. But this scripture breaks down exactly what is the demiurge, what's the demiurge, what is he doing, and what is the whole symbolism behind this God of the Bible, this God of the Quran, this male patriarchal God. Where did it come from? Who is he? And, from a spiritual standpoint, what is it? Historical standpoint, we know it started in Sumer with the Anunnaki and Enlil and Enki and all that stuff. But spiritually, what is the symbolism? What is it behind esoterically and symbolism and spiritually behind what this God represents? And that's what our people got to get into. Once you find out what it represents spiritually and who this God is, you will walk away from this thing. Take a look at the many. Looks like it's been put together. Look at the platypus. But people say, what can exist? We got to wake out of this deep sleep. Yep. Precise. I heard of the demiurge. Yeah, the demiurge is crazy. Yeah, the demiurge is crazy. But it's called Nag Hammadi Scripture. I'm gonna show you the book before I get off. I'm about to jump off. Hold on. What's up? What's up? Yeah, this is the book right here. So, it goes in to talk about the archetype of what Christ really is, the archetype, in here, And here he was against religion, the so-called Christ. He wasn't even on religion. He was against this father patriarchal God. In this, he was talking about ye are gods, that you create reality. You know what I'm saying? So it's called the Nag Hammadi scriptures. You know, I ordered it from, it was already used too. It's a Gnostic scripture. It's a Gnostic scripture, but you know what I'm saying? This is the book that I read out today. It's called The Gods of Eden by William Bramley. All right, who these gods are, where they come from. All these guys coming out the sky and all this crazy stuff. What is that? And what's our relation to these things? What did our ancestors say? That's what I'm saying. What did our ancestors say? See, stuff like this is just, I use my oral traditions. What my ancestors said is my guideline. I read this stuff to see what others are saying about it and see the correlation between this and that. So it's good to go into these books and stuff like that. But these are not the ultimate answer to anything. They're just not even feelings. It's just, okay, what are other people saying about what my ancestors already said? This is just giving me more information upon what some other people have did their own research into the same things our ancestors talked about. What are they saying about these same issues? So that's why I read a lot of these books. And it's good to pick them up. All right, this is the Gods of Eden. All right, and this is the Nag Hammadi scripture. It's a Gnostic text. All right. Yeah, you'll work on it. It's gonna come to you, man. It's in true master, your male and females are Enlil, master of the sky, and Enki, master of the land. They are trying to put your attributes onto them, so you'll see yourself in it and then feel guilty. Exactly. Put it up against okay. Speak nothing but strength and love to all here in the live. This day, this age is ours. Remember that the old ways are traditions. Gratitude, brother. Yes, remember the old ways in order to learn to. Yeah, but Tavion, just hit me up, man. You can DM me, man. We discuss, lineage and stuff like that. But I'm getting out of here, y'all. Anea Safara Duba, Shilpet Jamasi Takwama Tama Hall, Gadam Hamduk, Halun Zamal, Halun. Anea Safara Duba, Shilpet Jamasi Takwan, Karum and Altamaha, the man. I am traveling bear of the Yamasee nation of the great and honorable Altamaha bloodline. Nook, Ashuk, Amtkum. I love you all. Wawid Horut. Have a great and prosperous evening. Peace, peace, peace. Harus Hayaz.